Hello, Mednologist. You're watching Scientific Medical Neurologist YouTube channel. So, in this video, we're going to discuss about the pharmacology most important topic, that is antibiotics, in which we're going to discuss about the classification of antibiotics on different bases and mechanism action of antibiotics. That is how antibiotics works, through what all mechanism the antibiotic shows their effect. We're going to discuss about that. And third one, clinical use and side effects of antibiotics. Fourth one, bacterial resistance to antibiotics. So all of these points we will discuss in this video in details. So in detail and deeply we are going to discuss about these all points. So keep watching our video till the end. So without delay, let's get into the video. So before discussing these all important points, let's discuss about the antibiotics. Let's discuss about the introductory part of antibiotics, because in RGHS exam or any other exam, they mostly ask 2 marks questions from this introductory part, from introductory chapter of antibiotics. They mostly ask questions based on this for 2 marks. So let's focus some important points about the introductory part of antibiotics. So firstly, let's discuss about the what are antibiotics. As the name itself indicates, that's the antibiotics, where bio means life, anti means against. So you can say that these drugs acts against the life. What type of life? That is microorganisms life, like bacteria. So by the name itself, that indicates that the antibiotics means the drugs which acts against the microorganisms, that is bacteria. The drugs which are used to kill the bacteria, or the drugs which acts against the microorganism, that is bacteria. So antibiotics means antibacterial. Antibacterial and antibiotics are same, so don't confuse in that. So this is all about the meaning of the antibiotic. So let's focus some important points about the history of antibiotics, when the antibiotics was discovered. So antibiotics was firstly discovered by the Sir Alexander Fleming in their laboratory. He accidentally invented the first antibiotic, that is penicillin. So penicillin was the first antibiotic which was discovered by Sir Alexander Fleming in 1928. In 1941, penicillin was ready for the therapeutic use, which was firstly used for the disease, that is Streptococcus sore throat. For this disease only, the first antibiotic, that is penicillin, was used therapeutically in humans. Do you all guys know how the penicillin was discovered at first time? In 1928, Sir Alexander Fleming was doing experiment with the Streptococcus bacteria by culture medium in their laboratory. During that, they found a mold spore, that was fungus was grown in a petri dish of culture media, which was kept for culturing Streptococcus bacteria. So with the replace of bacteria, there was a formation of fungus, that is penicillium notatum. As you can see in the image, there is a formation of fungus in the center of petri dish. Around that place, there were no bacterial formation or bacterial growth was inhibited around that area. Sir Alexander Fleming got curiosity about why the bacteria was not grown on that area. There was a formation of fungus only. After the examination, they studied that the petri dish where Streptococcus bacteria was growing, it was contaminated with the mold spore of fungus, that is Penicillium notatum. That may be due to petri dish was not cleaned or sterilized before culturing Streptococcus, or the first point is the petri dish was not cleaned before growing the Streptococcus bacteria. Second point, because the petri dish was uncovered, or you can say that petri dish was not completely covered, so the petri dish got contaminated with the fungus Penicillium notatum, that is penicillin antibiotic. And third point is suitable environment for the growing of Penicillium notatum, because as petri dish was partially covered and not cleaned, and plus the temperature and the pH of the petri dish and room temperature and moisture levels made the fungus to grow, made the petri dish containing Streptococcus to be contaminated with the fungus Penicillium notatum. That made the penicillin antibiotic discovered. When the Sir Alexander Fleming done the examination of that organism which inhibited the formation of Streptococcus bacteria, so upon examination, the scientist found that spores or microorganism is Penicillium notatum, that is fungus, and studied that and understood that due to this fungus, bacteria, that is Streptococci, was not growing around that area, because that fungus was inhibiting the growth of the bacteria around it. So this was a story behind the discovery of Penicillium notatum, discovery of penicillin, the first antibiotic. These all questions artists can ask in your examination, that who discovered the penicillin and when did penicillin was discovered, when penicillin was ready for therapeutic use, and why the petri dish got contaminated. What are the reasons for that? They can ask these all things for 2 marks in your RGHS examinations. So this is all about this introductory part of antibiotics. So now let's move to the next section, that is classification of antibiotics. on three different bases. That is, in first one, classification of antibiotics based on mechanism of action. Second one, classification of antibiotics based on their mode of action or their antibiotic activity. That is bactericidal and bacteriostatic antibiotics. And third one is classification of antibiotics based on spectrum of activity. That is narrow spectrum antibiotics, broad spectrum antibiotics. And the main and important one is that is a classification of antibiotics based on mechanism of action. In this, there are many categories of drugs, in which the first one is antibiotics which inhibit the bacterial cell wall synthesis. That is the first one. And second one is antibiotics which inhibit the protein synthesis of bacteria. Third one is antibiotics which inhibit the nucleic acid synthesis of bacteria. Fourth one is drugs which inhibit the bacterial metabolism, that is nothing but which inhibit the folic acid synthesis. Fifth one is drugs which inhibit the structure and functions of cell membrane of bacteria. So we will discuss all of these categories of drugs in the classification of antibiotics based on mechanism of action. So first one is that is drugs which inhibit the bacterial cell wall synthesis. Examples are beta-lactam antibiotics, vancomycin, and all of these drugs which show their effect by inhibiting the cell wall synthesis of bacteria. First one is inhibiting cell wall synthesis. So simple mechanism of action of these beta-lactam antibiotics: as soon as they reach the bacteria, as soon as they reach the cell wall of the bacteria, they penetrate the cell wall through diffusion method and bind to the transpeptidase enzymes, or you can say penicillin binding protein enzyme, which is necessary for the maintaining cell wall structure and rigidity. Without this enzyme, a cell wall can't maintain its structure and integrity of cell wall will be destroyed, leading to lysis of bacterial cell due to breakdown of cell wall and dissolving of the bacterial cell wall. Without bacterial cell wall, our bacteria cannot survive, because without the transpeptidase enzyme, the cell wall becomes weak and finally break down. Due to that, water influx inside the bacterial cell, or you can say water travels into the bacterial cell. Why the water influx inside the bacterial cell? Because inside the bacterial cell there is a hyperosmolarity, that is nothing but there are more solids than solvent. As of osmosis rule, the water flows inside the bacterial cell, making the bacterial cell wall big and swollen due to accumulations of water, and finally burst out. When reaching its potential pressure, the bacterial cell wall get burst due to the accumulations of water and death of the bacterial cell. When the bacteria is in the medium where the solvent is more and the solids are less, so as a rule of osmosis process, the water wants to move into the place where the solutes are more, so that there should be maintained equilibrium between the solvents and solids, between this inside the cell and outside the cell of the bacteria. That fluid, that solvent or water will be influx inside the bacterial cell, which can cause bacterial cell wall become big and finally burst out. So this is how beta-lactam antibiotics works. So second one is antibiotics which inhibit the protein synthesis. So as you already studied about the protein synthesis in second year, that protein synthesis happens in two processes, that is transcription and translation process. And in transcription process, there will be the formation of mRNA in the nucleus of the bacterial cell, and in translation process, and newly synthesized mRNA will be travel out of the nucleus into the cytoplasm, where the tRNA or ribosomes gets attached to the mRNA and strips the amino acids and make the amino acid chains, which are nothing but proteins. So this is how protein synthesis works. So during protein synthesis, the antibiotics like tetracyclines and chlorpheniramine inhibits the bacterial ribosomes. The antibiotics will bind to the 30th subunit of ribosomes or 50th subunit of ribosomes. Due to that binding, which inhibit the functions of ribosomes, functions of bacterial protein synthesis. Due to that, there will be deficiency of proteins to continue their metabolic process. Due to that, bacteria will die. As the proteins are building blocks of any organism, without protein, a bacteria cannot survive and maintain its vital functions and metabolic process. Due to that deficiency of proteins, the bacteria will die. Drugs which inhibit the protein synthesis are of two types, in which first one is drugs which inhibit the 30th subunit of ribosome, and the second one is the drugs which inhibit the 50th subunit of ribosomes. And the drugs which inhibit the protein synthesis by binding to 30th subunit of ribosomes is tetracyclines. Tetracyclines inhibit the 30th subunit of ribosomes. And the drugs which inhibit the 50th subunit of ribosomes is chlorpheniramine and erythromycin. So these drugs inhibit the ribosomal subunit of 50S, which can lead to the bacterial cell death. And third one is antibiotics which inhibit the nucleic acid synthesis. Examples: fluoroquinones, rifampicin. So these drugs inhibit the synthesis of nucleic acids in the bacterial cells. Nucleic acids are nothing but DNA and RNA, which are essential for protein synthesis and for bacterial cell division. So these drugs works by inhibiting the nucleic acid synthesis in bacterial cell. All other major functions are carried by DNA and RNA. So without this DNA and RNA, the bacterial cell will be die. So to inhibit the nucleic acid synthesis, what antibiotics will do is these antibiotics like fluoroquinones enter the bacterial cell and bind to the DNA gyrase and topoisomerase 4 enzymes. These two enzymes are very essential for the transcription process and replications of DNA, which will be needed for the bacterial division. During bacterial division, there will be a replication of DNA. Topoisomerase enzyme will separate the two daughter cells, or it has the main function in bacterial division. To stop the bacterial division, the antibiotics will inhibit the DNA gyrase, also inhibit the topoisomerase 4 enzyme, which will prevent the replication of DNA, and that can prevent the bacterial division, which can act as a bacteriostatic antibiotic against the bacterial infection. So by inhibiting the DNA dependent DNA gyrase, which is responsible for the replication of DNA, there will be no formation of new DNA. And the another effect is that it also inhibits the topoisomerase 4 that can prevent the bacterial division. With these two effects, the fluoroquinones will prevent bacterial division. So this is all about nucleic acid synthesis. So now let's move to the next one, fourth one, that is the inhibiting the metabolic pathways of bacteria. So by inhibiting the metabolic pathways of bacteria, the drugs, the antibiotics will finally kill the bacteria by of these ways, in which first one is inhibiting the folic acid synthesis. As you know the fact that bacteria itself produces its own folic acid, which is required for DNA RNA synthesis, that is nothing but nucleic acid synthesis. So these drugs inhibit that synthesis of folic acid, causes the metabolic collapse that will lead to the death of the bacteria. So to understand how these drugs inhibit the folic acid synthesis, let's discuss about the how bacteria synthesis its own folic acid. So bacteria synthesis its own folic acid by the following process, by the following mechanism. When PABA and petadine together with a combination bind to the enzyme dihydropetrate synthetase enzyme, that will lead to the production of dihydropetrate with the help of enzyme dihydropetrate synthetase. When dihydroferrate is ready, that dihydroferrate is being converted into dihydrofolate with the help of dihydrofolate synthetase enzyme. This is a dihydrofolate is a oxidative form of folic acid. So for that there is an enzyme which reduces dihydrofolate, that is dihydrofolate reductase enzyme. With the help of dihydrofolate reductase enzyme, the dihydrofolate substance will be converted into tetrahydrofolate, which is an active form of folic acid. So by this way folic acid will be synthesized in a bacterial cell. So to inhibit this process, we can do whether we can inhibit the enzyme dihydropetrate synthetase, or we can inhibit the enzyme dihydrofolate reductase enzyme. By inhibiting any of this enzyme, there will be a no production of folic acid. Without folic acid, there will be no protein synthesis. Without protein synthesis, our bacteria will die off. And the drugs which inhibit the folic acid synthesis are like sulfonamides and trimethoprim. So these drugs inhibit the synthesis of folic acid, where sulfonamides inhibit the enzyme dihydrofolate synthesis and trimethoprim inhibit the enzyme dihydrofolate reductase enzyme, that can lead to the deficiency of folic acid in bacterial cell. Without the folic acid, a bacteria cannot replicate its DNA or cannot make RNA. Without DNA and RNA, without DNA, the bacterial division will not happen. That will show the bacteriostatic effect. So all sulfonamides have same structure as of PABA, that is the sulfonamides compete with PABA and bind to the dihydropetrate enzyme before the PABA. PABA is the main component that should be needed for the production of folic acid. When PABA, petadine and dihydroferrate synthetase bind together, clump together, there will be a formation of dihydropetrate. PABA bind to the active site of dihydroferrate synthetase enzyme. As you know, it's a key and lock mechanism, as you studied in second year, that key and mechanism, that enzyme and substrate are both complementary to each other. They have structure which is complementary to each other, so that when enzyme and substrate meet together or stick together, there will be the formation of the chemical substance. So when PABA, which is a substrate, bind to the enzyme dihydroferrate synthetase enzyme, that will lead to the production of dihydropetrate. So to stop this sulfonamides as same structure as of PABA, So sulfonamides are complementary to the dihydroferrate synthetase enzyme. So sulfonamides bind to the dihydroferrate synthetase enzyme instead of PABA. Due to that, there will be no formation of dihydroferrate and there will be no production of folic acid. By this way, sulfonamides inhibit the synthesis of folic acid in bacterial cell. So in most of the case in clinicals, both sulfonamides and trimethoprim are combinationally used to inhibit folic acid in bacterial cells. The combination of sulfonamides and trimethoprim drug is called as a cotrimazole antibiotic, which consists of both sulfonamides and trimethoprim. It means sulfonamides inhibit the dihydrofolate enzyme, whereas the trimethoprim inhibit dihydrofolate synthetase enzyme. So inhibiting these two enzymes, there will be a double action of antibiotics that can increase the spectrum of antibiotic. By inhibiting these two enzymes, there will be a no production of folic acid in a larger scale that can lead to the deficiency of folic acid in a bacterial cell. Last way to kill the bacteria is that is inhibiting its structure and functions of cell membrane. The drugs which inhibit or disturb the functional and structural integrity of cell membrane of the bacteria that can lead to bacterial lysis and bacterial cell death. Antibiotics which inhibit the cell membrane structure and function, example is polymyxins. So primarily the drugs acts on the phospholipid cell membrane of bacteria. As you know, the bacteria of two types, gram positive and gram negative bacteria. The gram positive bacteria has thick peptidoglycan layer, thick cell wall and no cell membrane. Gram positive bacteria has one cell membrane, one cell wall, whereas gram negative bacteria has two cell membranes and one bacterial cell wall. And there is also extra thing that is lipopolysaccharides. Apart from two cell membranes and one cell wall, there is also a polysaccharides on the outer side of outer membrane. In gram negative bacteria, two cell membranes, that is one is outer membrane and another one is cytoplasmic membrane. As you can see in the image, the outer cell membrane is consists of biphospholipid layer and also lipopolysaccharides, whereas cytoplasmic membrane has only biphospholipid layers. So this outer membrane has biphospholipid layer with lipopolysaccharides. So this polymyxins bacteria which inhibits cell wall membrane and its function, this polymyxins disrupts cell wall membrane by interacting with the phospholipid cell membrane of bacteria. Especially in gram negative bacteria, these drugs bind to polysaccharides of lipid A. Lipopolysaccharides consist of three components, in which first one is lipid A and second one is core polysaccharides, third one is O antigen, extends outward the core. So these three components are there in the lipopolysaccharides. So this drug polymyxins bind to the lipid A component of lipopolysaccharides and inserts itself, that is drug molecule, into the inside the bacterial cell, causing distractions in maintaining structure and functionality of the cell membrane and cause the displacing of magnesium and calcium ions, where magnesium and calcium ions are important for the cell membrane structure, stabilizing cell membrane. So by displacing magnesium and calcium, bacterial cell membrane loses its structure and functions, leading to the increasing cell membrane permeability, which can lead to leakage of cellular contents and entry of water molecules or other unwanted molecules into the bacterial cell that can lead to imbalance between the substances that inside the cell and outside the cell. Leakage of cellular contents lead to the loss of vital components of bacterial cell, which can lead to further disruptions of cell membrane and its function that can lead to the bacterial cell lysis, which can lead to the bacterial cell death. So this is how polymyxins works to kill the bacteria by inhibiting cell membrane functions and structures. And these all are other class of antibiotics which inhibit the structure and functions of cell membrane of an bacteria. So this is all about the classification of antibiotics based on the mechanism of actions, in which we discuss the antibiotics which inhibits the bacterial cell wall synthesis, which inhibits the protein synthesis, which inhibits the nucleic acid synthesis, which inhibits the folic acid synthesis, which inhibit the bacterial cell membrane. So this is all over the classification of antibiotics based on the mechanism of action. So now let's discuss about the second type of classification of antibiotics based on the mode of action or based on antibacterial activity, that is bacteriostatic and bactericidal. Bacteriostatic consists of those classes or categories of drugs which inhibit preventing the further growth of bacteria rather than killing the bacteria directly. Second one is bactericidal. These drugs which consist of categories or classes of drugs which are used to kill the bacteria directly and which is used to kill the bacteria completely. So difference in between these two are the bacteriostatic prevents the growth of the bacteria but does not kills it completely, but the bactericidal antibiotics kill the bacteria directly and completely without preventing. Some of the antibiotics are work as both bactericidal and bacteriostatic. For example, erythromycin. Some of the drugs can be act as both bacteriostatic and bactericidal when we change their concentration or doses. For example, erythromycin. So these drugs work as a bacteriostatic. When we give this type of drugs at a low doses, it can be act as a bacteriostatic. When we give this type of drugs, that is erythromycin, at high doses, it can also be act as a bactericidal antibiotics and show bactericidal effect. And second point is there is also some drugs which acts as bacteriostatic for some disease and which acts as a bactericidal for some disease. For example, chlorpheniramine acts as a bactericidal antibiotic against the H. influenza and S. pneumonia. And whereas these drugs also acts as a bacteriostatic for other diseases as mentioned here. So the last but not least, the final third type of classification of antibiotics are based on its antibacterial spectrum activity. That is, first one broad spectrum antibiotics, second one narrow spectrum antibiotics. Narrow spectrum antibiotics are those drugs which are acts against mostly gram positive bacteria than gram negative bacteria, but the other broad spectrum antibiotics acts against both gram positive and gram negative bacteria. The spectrum activity of these drugs are broader and more, and these type of antibiotics acts on large scales of bacteria. They may be positive or negative. This type of broad spectrum antibiotics acts on both of the bacteria. And the examples of narrow spectrum antibiotics are aminoglycosides, and the examples of broad spectrum antibiotics are tetracyclines. So this is all about the classification of antibiotics on different bases, based on mechanism of action, based on mode of action, based on antibacterial properties, based on antibacterial spectrum. So far we discussed the classification of antibiotics with their individual mechanism of actions of all the types of antibiotics. So this is all about the classification of antibiotics. So now we're going to discuss about the clinical uses of antibiotics. So now let's discuss about the beta-lactam antibiotics in detail, including the types of the beta-lactam antibiotics, their uses, their mechanism of actions, their side effects. We're going to discuss everything now. So we're going to discuss everything about the beta-lactam antibiotics. So let's discuss it. So first of all, what are beta-lactam antibiotics? So we differentiated this video, that is first part, second part, third part and fourth part. So this is the first part of this video. In next part of this video we're going to discuss about the so on that video we're going to discuss about the beta-lactam antibiotics, including all type of beta-lactam antibiotics like penicillin, cephalosporins and all others beta-lactam antibiotics. And we're going to discuss about the penicillins and their types, cephalosporins and their types, and all of the other beta-lactam antibiotics and their types, including their mechanism of actions, therapeutic uses and drug choice of disease. And we're going to discuss about the side effects and their antidotes. Everything we want to discuss in that video and all of the upcoming videos of antibiotics. So stay with us and watch all of the videos which are very easily to understand, and you will get the lecture video with notes. So no need to take the notes. You will get the notes with the link in the description of this video. So just focus on the lectures. So just focus on the video. And don't forget to watch that video and all other videos listed here of antibiotics. There is a playlist. You can watch all of the videos one by one. You will get the clear explanations of all of the antibiotics. All of your doubts will be cleared in all of these videos. So I hope you will watch these all videos. So now let's discuss